the question is, where and how can we use blockchain? That's the real question. So blockchain, there's been many manifestations of the use of blockchain, but we can now begin to see more and more deployment of blockchain, more and more use of blockchain. So for example, in the Islamic Fintech space, there's a company which is using blockchain to launch Waqf projects. So the Waqf process, end-to-end Waqf, is being managed on the blockchain. The assets, the traceability, the recording, the governance, the distribution, it's all being done on the blockchain. So this is one use of blockchain, because remember, we mentioned blockchain is about recording data. But it's such a way to record data that it minimizes costs, brings more transparency, and it brings immutability, meaning it can't be changed. And the Waqf, the beauty of our Waqf is, as everybody knows, Waqf becomes permanent assets. Waqf is essentially something a person gives for the sake of Allah, for reward purposes, but its utility, its benefit is permanent. The ownership transfer is permanent. A person can never retrieve the asset. And then the asset becomes permanently in Waqf for general causes, charitable causes, or the public interest. So the idea of Waqf is all about being permanent. It's about serving the community on a permanent basis. Nobody can buy the asset, nobody can sell the asset. So think of how well that aligns with blockchain, because remember, we talked about blockchain. Blockchain is immutable. Blockchain has a permanent record. So never will a person be able to change something recorded as Waqf on a blockchain and change that as not being Waqf. And Waqf requires being permanent. So Waqf is a beautiful example of blockchain use. Another example of Islamic Fintech on blockchain is Zakat, right? Zakat services. So there's been ideas, research done, and testing done on how can Zakat be used using a blockchain. How can we spend Zakat? Because Zakat requires governance and good practice. We should be able to see and ensure that the beneficiary of Zakat receives the Zakat funds. Because a person is paying in one place, the beneficiary is somewhere else. How do we ensure and trust that the person who we intended to give Zakat to has received the Zakat? So the blockchain, because it's a ledger, because it records, it traces, it can track and trace, we can have a system where Zakat is paid on a blockchain, and then we can see exactly where it's been and trace it. So we can know with certainty that it's reached this recipient's account. It's not been, it's not been lost in the system. Whereas in the traditional services, if you pay Zakat, you'll be using a charity, or you'll be doing a bank transfer or some other transfer. Sometimes the funds can get lost. You don't have full transparency. You as a payer don't know. You have to double check. You don't know what the intermediary organization is doing with the funds. But using Zakat on a blockchain will allow that full transparency, and it will be a track and trace system in essence. So that's another beauty of Islamic Fintech in terms of blockchain. Also, another idea which is becoming increasingly common is investing on blockchain, or using blockchain to manage funds and assets. So it's assets under management. There's a whole another area of blockchain where assets can be recorded on the blockchain. So if any fund is managing assets, an Islamic firm can have its assets listed, recording on the blockchain, and can be there visible for all. But as I said, this is in its infancy. The people are still testing and trying different methods. These were, you could say, Islamic Fintech space ideas of blockchain, and there are many more. There are many more. And for example, sukuk, that's another very common one. We have the concept of smart sukuk, which is a sukuk launched, issued on a blockchain. So whoever invests in the sukuk will get a token or certificate via the blockchain. And all the process of the sukuk will be visible on the blockchain. And the proceeds, the governance, the recording, regulatory requirements, everything will be visible on the blockchain and will be functioning on the blockchain. So all the data will be stored on the blockchain. That's another way to really use blockchain. And some non-Islamic or just generic kind of practice use. It was a firm called Medical Chain. What they did was they used the blockchain to record all the data or keep the data of patients. So at any one time, anyone can access the blockchain data and see exactly the history of the client. Again, it's like a cloud-based service where everybody can see. You can put that data and it always remain there. But it's only one record which everybody's getting access to at one time. That allowed the decentralization of knowledge, you could say, or of this data. And it enabled secure, faster, and more transparent exchange of information and data. That was the benefit of that. So I mean, there's many other medical chain was one. IBM Food Trust is another project on the blockchain, and what it does is it's all about tracing food on the blockchain, giving greater transparency and efficiency. And this is an amazing project because all of us know that today's food chain supplies are huge, right? Food is produced in one country, shipped, packaged somewhere else, and sent somewhere else, right? So food is another great example of using blockchain to enhance the transparency, to enhance the checks and balances, to ensure all the correct information is there, to ensure security and safety for the consumers, and to ensure that the food is ethical, it's done in a proper way, it's not been mismanaged. So all these kinds of things and this kind of data can be recorded in the blockchain, and we can trace, we can see where did this particular food come from. The blockchain will give you that full trail, which is the beauty of blockchain.
Islamic finance learning made simple and memorable.